All right, let's talk about the new Supra. And the new Supra, let's be honest, sort of sucks. They were waiting to reveal it at the Detroit Auto Show, but then they did a full front reveal, one that was sitting on the truck in silver, and then a full rear reveal of a yellow one that just happened to be parked somewhere. So next thing you know is like, all right, now we know what the car looks like. And then there was some awkward leak. The manufacturers suck with this. Like, some random guy has the awkward leak when he clicked on the wrong link on the website, and it just shows the reveal of what the thing looks like before we reveal it. In the worst kept secret since the C8 Corvette, the Supra is now here in all its glory to disappoint. I've got no reason to believe that this is not what the Supra is going to look like. But if you look at all the renderings over time, half of them look much cooler than what the finished product is. And why is that relevant? Well, you look at the Supra and you're like, oh yeah, that's pretty cool. It's like, it's a Supra, but it's not. And I have a feeling it's going to go the same way of the NSX, unless the aftermarket can really take a hold of this car and grab the car by the horns. And one of the things that made the other Supra awesome wasn't that it was fast, because it wasn't fast. It was that it was moddable. And the 2JZ motor was able to hold a shit ton of boost. You could throw a lot of power at it, and you were way ahead of the curve and way ahead of the game. The Supras used to be unstoppable until they started turboing Vipers. And a Viper is a formidable car to begin with. So turbos on a 10-cylinder engine to keep up with an inline six was something that made that car iconic. It's not that the Fast and the Furious picked it up, but that's what made the Fast and the Furious pick it up as the hero car, because the Supra was sort of the hands-down champ of street racing. It was just that thing would take off into the distance. And it's got such a great highway race persona, because virtually every video of a Supra is like, somebody thinks they're winning, and then the Supra just comes freight training by, because when you do put the big turbo on it, you get a lot of lag, and it makes a shit ton of horsepower, but it's not instantaneous. You don't have that torque that you're used to in a lot of the bigger engine cars that are super torquey, and when they're lined up, big horsepower Corvette may get out on it, but the Supra is just going to come trucking right by. And the gearing is really good for top end too. So it all really works. It's what led into, and it's a cool looking car, it's what led into making the MKIV, the 4th gen Supra, an iconic car. Now the market on those seems to be on fire, and people are like, I can't believe these cars are selling for a lot of money. Bring a Trailer just had a car that closed yesterday, a 94 red 6-speed turbo, $121,000 plus a $6,000 premium for Bring a Trailer. So you're talking $127,000 for a 94 Supra with sub 8,000 miles on the actual odometer. I think it was 7,100. So bone stock car. And what's funny about that is that those cars aren't really great stock. They're really pretty boring. I mean, you're talking it's like a couple hundred horsepower and not really wowing anyone in stock trim. But when you start throwing a lot of power on them, at least at the very minimum, a BPU car is fun. A BPU is a base performance upgrade, so it's the downpipe, the turbo upgrade, and not even necessarily the turbo upgrade, but more boost, the downpipe. You go look on Super forums, you'll see what all the basic upgrades are that everybody did. But I mean, my Supra running a stock intake manifold, making almost 1,000 wheel horsepower. So it's just amazing, and that Supra hasn't been touched in like 7 or 8 years. So you're talking 8 years ago, we're making almost 1,000 wheel horsepower with the stock intake. It was quite the car. Now, why is the market on fire? Well, because frankly, as is easy to predict, people my age are finally coming into money and saying, I want one of those. I've always wanted one of those as a kid. And you get this wave of depreciation because nobody wants it because it's the older model. Oh, wait, I sort of want that, a little collector market coming. And then next thing you know, everybody that grew up loving those cars can now afford them. And the 90s cars go up in value significantly. It was the 80s cars that went up in value first. It was the Countaches and the Testarossas and the 959s, and not C4 Corvettes because they suck. Then the 90s cars all go up in value. The RX-7s start creeping up. I mean, obviously the McLaren F1, but the F50s, the F40s, all these cars, even 355s, they all start coming up in value. As much as I hate it, the E36 lightweight M3, nothing really terrific about that car. The air-cooled Porsches, it's the cars we grew up with. They're cool looking, they perform well, they're moddable, they're reliable or fairly reliable, and the market just seems to come up on them. And then as time goes on and they become more scarce and people buy and hold them, there's fewer out there, more people have to pay more money, and that just keeps driving the market up. So my car, I'm actually in the process of I'm going to go up maybe tomorrow or Monday to take a look. Actually, Monday I'm going to Atlanta to be on VinWiki. So maybe next week I'm going to go check out the car. I've got mine running. I'm shipping it down to Florida to do the half mile. Who knows who's going to end up coming to that right now? Maybe Adam LZ. I may just bring somebody with a fast-ass car like a 488 Pista or a Senna or something down there to race me. So I've got a good opponent. I don't know if Street Speed's going to come. I know Garrett's cars are all laid up, so he's not going to have anything to run. Tommy is going over to Japan right now, so he's not going to be available to run. He was going to have his S15 available, but that's not going to be ready. So it looks like it's going to be me at the half mile, the Wanna Go Fast, down in South Florida on the 20th. And I'm going to bring somebody with me. I'm not just going to go race by myself, but once I commit, once I book my flights, and once I start prepping a car, I show up. And let's see if Street Speed does the same thing. He's got a 720. There's never going to be anything wrong with that thing. It's just going to be fast out of the box, and it'll be fun to go beat up on him with the Supra if he shows up. So we'll see what happens there. But right now, the Supra, we clean the injectors, we drain the gas. We've got it on pump gas, but I'm going to run it on C16 anyway. And if I have time, I'm going to try. I've reached out to Garrett to try to get a better turbo for it, because my Precision Turbo is 8 years old now, and it made 933 to the wheels on 32 pounds of boost. Worst case scenario, I'll crank it up to 35 pounds of boost, see if we can get up to 1,000. The injectors aren't maxed out yet or anything like that, so we've still got room there. The engine's built to 40 pounds of boost. I don't really want to go much beyond 35, but I sort of want to hit 1,001 or whatever it is. I'm going to put new tires on the car. Brakes are fine. Everything else is fine. And we're going to ship it down, and we're going to go see what we could do. I did 213 in the mile in the car, so I expect something good. So 180s probably, hopefully, especially if I add another 80 wheel horsepower. The gearing is good. The tires will be good. And I'm expecting good things. Then that's pretty much the last I plan on doing with the car. I'm going to, if I don't swap the turbo, that is, then I'm going to ship the car out to Chicago. I'm just going to do a couple little tweaks on it. There's little things on the car that are from going back together, never went back together. Like the door has like little clips that go in the door handle, and that stuff that you'd never notice unless you're looking. But we didn't put those little caps in, so I got to go order those caps for $6. I've got the little blanks that go into the console that are missing. Those are a couple of bucks. It's like standard like Toyota Celica blank, but it's just the stuff to finish off the car so it's perfect. We're going to ship it out to Chicago Motor Cars. They're going to sell it in the spring unless somebody wants it before it goes to them. And Perrin was talking about listing it in the spring for about 150 grand. Yeah, I know what you're saying. Oh my God, 150 grand. Why would you ever? That's what it's going to sell for, what I expect it to sell for. Even though people thought this $121,000, 7,000 mile car was big numbers, I know two that sold. The 98s get the bigger money. The 94 is just not as desirable. The 98s were the shortest run in the US, and a 98 black 6-speed turbo sells for a bunch. Well, yours is modified. A modified one sold for $139. I think it was Certified Motors down in Florida. Sold a RSP, which is a blue, automatic swap to 6-speed, which should decrease the value, with 1,000+ horsepower. And that one, well-built car, mine also well-built, but mine's also reversible, sold for $139. He also sold one with, I think, 14,000 miles, black 98 6-speed. With 14,000 miles, he sold for $150 in like days. So my car, fully reversible back to stock. You could do whatever you want with it if you buy it. I don't care if you want to return it back to stock and spend a couple $1,000s to do that. You want to jump the Grand Canyon in the damn thing. I don't really care. But to assume that, oh, I wouldn't pay that money for that car, this guy wouldn't pay that money for that car. If you look at what, like you'll look when Supras are listed online, they ask big money and then they don't show back up for sale, which means they probably sold for big money. Whether it's a public knowledge sale or it's broadcasted that it sold for a lot of money, doesn't mean it didn't. Well, you could tell when a car doesn't sell for a lot of money because it's listed and then it gets relisted and relisted and relisted, and then the price keeps coming down. That means the market's not so hot. When you see a car listed for sale and all of a sudden it's not for sale anymore, it's because somebody else owned it and somebody else paid a good amount of money for it. That's why it doesn't come back up for sale. that's what I plan on doing with mine. So if you're interested in my car and you want to make a real offer, it's got to be very close to 150. What am I going to do with that money? Well, I'm going to go buy another Supra, but I'm going to buy one with like 60,000 miles, 70,000 miles, significantly lower, and I'll modify it to the same degree or similar degree, maybe not 1,000 wheel, but something like the 650 rear wheel horsepower on pump gas. I can go out and enjoy it, but it doesn't have to be a 98. It could be whatever, 95, 96, 97, and I'm looking forward to it, and I'm looking forward to enjoying it. As I said, my car, I could return it back to stock. I could spend virtually $5,000 to do so, but the appeal of the car is that it's moddable. Some people like the mods. Some people would buy it and then modify it. I'll just leave it as is, and whatever happens, happens. It's about time I actually sell it. I've been talking about doing it forever, and now that the new one is apparently a dud, but it reinvigorates interest in the namesake. If you look at the new NSX, the prices go like this. The old NSX, the prices go like that. It's just because that's an NSX, and this one really isn't, and that's where we really stand with the, let's just say, disappointing Supra. I'm really hoping when it does get revealed that I'm wrong. I don't think I am, and maybe it'll grow on me, but right now I don't think I'm going to be spending my money on one of those. I think I'm going to spend my money on the old one and get one that I can drive and enjoy, because I haven't really been doing that with this. I've been enjoying the shit out of it when I do drive it, but I only drive it 7 miles at a time. I drive it onto the trailer, I go to the event, I do 10 miles on it and pull it back onto the trailer, and it sits for a couple of years. So it'll be nice to actually get out there, race some people, race some cool cars, beat up on some things, and sell it in the spring and move on to the next chapter of my Supra life. Thank you for watching. See you tomorrow.